South by Southwest changes their tune, a Candy Crush Saga on the mend, and how to see through walls with RF. Tech News Tonight is next.
This is Twit.
This is Tech News Tonight, episode 455 for Wednesday, October 28th, 2015. This episode is brought to you by Braintree. Looking to set up payments for your business? Braintree gives your app or website a payment solution that accepts just about every payment method with one simple integration. Plus, Braintree will give you the first $50,000 in transactions fee-free. To learn more, visit BraintreePayments.com/TechNight. Welcome. I am Megan Maroney. Let's get to the tech news. Yesterday, we reported on the South by Southwest dust-up that involved canceling two panels designed to discuss online harassment in gaming. Critics said the annual tech conference failed to understand the issues surrounding Gamergate and underestimated the extent of the online misogyny movement. Now, Recode is reporting that organizers are considering an all-day event to focus on harassment. The panel Level Up, Overcoming Harassment in Games has been uncanceled. The Open Gaming Society, the folks behind the other panels, say that even though their panel is still canceled, they plan to organize, fund, and host the panel themselves. According to The Guardian, those Candy Crush Saga invites on Facebook might soon be a relic of the past. In a Q&A at the India Institute of Technology in Delhi, Mark Zuckerberg said the social network is working on a fix for all those annoying notifications to play games with friends. Zuckerberg said that a tool to block the Candy Crush invites is one of the most frequently requested features on the site. In other Facebook news, Business Insider says the company is instituting 2G Tuesdays in order to help employees understand what it's like to use super slow internet access. Facebook is aiming many of its products at emerging markets where speed isn't anything like more other developed parts of the world. Currently, more than 80% of the social network's users are outside of the U.S. and Canada. But before you feel too sorry for Facebook employees on 2G, the program is optional. It only lasts an hour, only once a week. Also, they get free food. Restaurant review website Yelp released earnings today. The company reported a loss, even though revenue rose 40% since last quarter. The increase in revenue was due to a spike in local advertising accounts, and they're blaming the loss on an increase in sales and marketing spending. So you could say mixed reviews for Yelp. Maybe you should ask someone you know if they like Yelp or not. Shares of Yelp are up 7% in after-hours trading. Researchers at MIT have developed the technology to see through walls, sort of. RF capture uses a wireless transmitter to relay a radio signal that's picked up by a receiver on the other side and then reflected back. Using algorithms, the device can determine the silhouette of a body through a wall and is even able to distinguish between up to 15 different people with 90% accuracy. The research was published today by the Computer Science and Artificial Intelligence Lab at MIT. And coming up, Joe Mullin from Ars Technica is here to totally bum us out about the sharing economy. But first, this episode is brought to you by Braintree, code for easy mobile payments. Maybe you're working on the next Uber, Airbnb, or GitHub. With just a few lines of code, you're instantly ready to accept payments. Now, as you know, payment wallets evolve and new ones are introduced, like Android Pay. We recently spoke with Ankur Arya, the general manager for Braintree Mobile, about their V.0 SDK, how it makes changing these payments options easy.
We effectively future-proof you against other wallets that become important or the other wallets that we go do the integration with. So once you've done the V.0 implementation, if we integrate a new wallet or we offer a new wallet, you can enable that via your control panel, and it's just a simple app update to your app. Let's say if you're running it on an iOS app to enable that. So very, very transparent and seamless, very easy to get going, and you're not sort of rewiring your app, which is super critical.
Braintree already supports Apple Pay, Android Pay, PayPal, Venmo, credit cards, even Bitcoin, and they're ready for whatever is around the corner. Braintree's fast payouts and continuous support means you'll always be ready, whether you're earning your first dollar or your billionth. See fewer abandoned carts and more sales with Braintree's best-in-class mobile checkout experience. Braintree gives you a full-stack payment solution, support for all payment types your customers might want, single integration across all platforms with superior fraud protection, customer service, and fast payouts. To check it out for yourself, visit BraintreePayments.com/TechNight. The sharing economy is awesome. Who doesn't want an Uber at their beck and call, or to order random stuff on Amazon and have it arrive within the hour with no additional cost? But what about all the employees doing this delivering of people and of stuff? Amazon is no stranger to complaints about the way employees are treated, especially recently. 4 ex-Amazon employees are now suing their former employer, claiming that they were denied wages and benefits. Joining us to talk about this suit is Joe Mullin, tech policy editor at Ars Technica. Welcome back, Joe.
Hi, thanks for having me on.
So tell us about this case that you wrote about today.
Well, this is the latest one of several worker lawsuits that are challenging some of the basic rules in what's known as the sharing economy. That phrase itself is controversial, it's worth noting. But this lawsuit says that, and it's asking for a class action status, that the workers who are driving for Amazon Prime now are, in some cases, not being paid up to the minimum wage and are not given breaks and are not given the benefits that should be due them as employees, and that's how they should be classified, as employees, not as independent contractors.
And how much are they being paid, these drivers for Amazon now?
So, and this is all according to the complaint. It's important to say that everything I've reported today is based on the complaint. So it's the plaintiff's point of view. Amazon did not respond. They didn't confirm any of this was true, and they didn't deny any of this on the record. They didn't respond to me or other reporters. But so what the complaint says is that drivers there are paid $11 per hour, and that's it. And they are... Now, their workers are responsible for all of their own expenses. That includes, car maintenance expenses and fuel. So it's not at all hard to imagine that once you take those expenses into account, a worker could be well below the minimum wage, which in the state of California is $9 per hour and is going up to $10 per hour on January 1st.
Wow. So, I'm thinking about this. Like, we've heard a lot about benefits, and, who doesn't need benefits? Robots do not need benefits. So Uber is fighting similar cases, and I feel like their end game is eventually autonomous cars. Amazon, of course, has drones. They want to deliver everything by drone. What do you think about the idea that a lot of these companies are just sort of waiting it out until the robots take our jobs?
I think that's going to be a long wait. I think they're going to need human workforces for quite some time to come. I think we might get to a point where there is sort of robot Ubers driving everyone around by the end of my life, but I wouldn't count on it in the near future. So I think these lawsuits are going to have a big impact as the rules get ironed out. You mentioned Uber. That's kind of the big test case because Uber, well, other than Amazon's also very big, but Uber is a big company and it's a new company, and they've made a lot of new rules up about how to manage their workforce. And what we already see from the early stages of litigation is they're not going to be able to make these suits go away easily, especially in California, where there's pretty clearly defined worker protections. And it's not easy to just say everyone's a contractor because I say so. These are going to be tough. And I anticipate all the companies that we're seeing get sued are going to ultimately make some changes to how they manage their workforce. Especially when you look at a company like Amazon, where it looks like the workers have substantially less flexibility than Uber or Lyft. In the case of the ride-sharing services, the drivers can really stop working almost at any time they want, not in the middle of a ride, but they certainly decide when to end their shift. In the case of some of these new companies, my understanding is that's not the case. So flexibility and the ability to say no to a job, that's a key part of showing that you're really a contractor. And from what we know about jobs like this Amazon Now, Prime Now gig, you're not free to say no, and you're not free to stop working anytime you want. You can be reprimanded, you can be terminated if you do those things.
Yeah, I mean, that whenever I take an Uber, I always ask the driver, like, what do you miss health benefits? Like, what's it like to drive an Uber versus when you drove a cab? And every person that I've talked to says this is so much better. It's so much more flexible. The taxi laws were just Byzantine, and this is just so much better and easier. But I'm guessing that working as an independent contractor for Amazon and being paid $11 with no benefits versus working for the company of Amazon, getting Amazon benefits, stock, just, that stability. that is better, I'm guessing.
Yeah, well, I mean, when we talk about benefits here, it's, at this scale of the workforce, we're not necessarily talking about a great benefits package. I mean, frankly, there's not much in American law that makes companies offer benefits. There's no requirement that American workers get paid vacation. Outside of California, there's no requirement for family leave. There's all kinds of benefits workers in other countries get that we don't get. So in this case, I think what they're talking about in terms of benefits is, if they were employees, they would get help with things like insurance, and also they would have workers' comp insurance. So it's kind of basic things like that, sort of basic protections that they're asking for in this case. And it's also worth noting that the changing status to employees isn't going to change the fact that some of these jobs are relatively low paid jobs. I mean, $10 to $15 an hour in somewhere like the Bay Area or Los Angeles without great benefits it's not a lot of money to raise a family on, certainly. And, an interesting example is Instacart, which is trying to avoid exactly a case like this. And one of the ways they've done that is just by telling their workers, look, if you want to be an employee, you can be an employee. But at the same time, those employees aren't getting health benefits. They're having the number of hours they work limited to 30 hours. And health package doesn't come with the job.
So the answer to this problem isn't Amazon giving them benefits. Well, what is the answer to this problem?
Well, it hasn't been worked out yet. I mean, a great answer would be for our national legislators or even a state legislature to realize that there probably is some kind of middle ground. We probably need some kind of third category of employment because, as you pointed out, there are a lot of workers who really value the flexibility of these new jobs. That is a huge benefit for a lot of people. And at the same time, some basic protections need to be in there that maybe aren't in there right now so that some of the workforce doesn't feel like they're being hung out to dry if something bad happens, like an accident or an injury. So ideally, there would be some kind of category that can merge those two worlds together. So one alternative is policymakers start paying attention to that and try to create that. And another possibility is that they don't, and then we're going to get some kind of maybe less perfect compromise that will get hammered out in the courts.
Well, what about, I was joking before about robots taking our jobs, but I mean, isn't there some idea that if we're able to automate a lot of these jobs, then the people with those jobs, because the economy is better, will be able to get better jobs? I mean, is that an economic argument that makes sense?
Well, so certainly there are disruptive technologies that displace workers, right? That's happened throughout iterations of technology. It's happened before the internet, and I'm sure we'll see that happen again in the future. If we can imagine a world that is entirely driverless or mostly driverless, that'll be, and I think we're a long way away from that, but that'll be a sea change in the economy. That'll result in a lot of disruption. There's millions of people right now that make their living as drivers. The economic idea is that the productivity benefit we would get as a society would be so great from this that hopefully, money would flow out, new businesses would get started, and then those people that used to drive get good jobs, maybe even better jobs doing something else. And progress marches forward. But that's kind of a big picture macroeconomic question that's a little bit above my pay grade, to be honest. But it is certainly interesting to think about.
Well, Joe, thank you so much for joining us, and thanks for covering this story. Joe Mullin is the tech policy editor at Ars Technica, at Joe Mullin on Twitter. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks. Have a good one.
You too. And finally, tonight, robots are often designed to complete tasks that we as humans do not want to do, vacuuming, dangerous manual labor, doing the robot. But today, Engadget reports that Yamaha has created a new robot that can do something that many of us would love to do, ride motorcycles at dangerously high speeds. The Motobot is an autonomous motorcycle riding humanoid that will ultimately drive an unmodified motorcycle on a racetrack at more than 200 kilometers per hour. That's about 124 miles per hour for those of us not on the metric system. Motobot is designed to test rider safety and support systems. And that is it for this edition of Tech News Tonight. You can subscribe to the show at twit.tv/TN2. You can write to us at tn2@twit.tv and watch live every weekday at 4 p.m. Pacific. And don't miss our morning news program, Tech News Today. That's every weekday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. I'm Megan Maroney. Thanks for watching.
Bandwidth for Tech News Tonight is brought to you by CashFly.com.